Holy shit! The only thing stopping me from tossing in far more expletives to describe my feelings about this year is my desire to monetize this 6,000 word monstrosity. 2021 was possibly the greatest single year for anime in my recent memory. Granted, I've used Siri to try and find my own phone before, so mine can't always be trusted. Regardless, the last time I really felt this excited was in 2011, a year that saw the airing of Steins Gate, Madoka, Hunter x Hunter, Tiger and Bunny, and you get the point. So in this video, I want to go back and reflect on the year and talk a little bit, okay, maybe a lot. I watched a lot of anime this year. Hell, had I been bullied into doing my seasonal series earlier, I may have watched literally every single one. But now, I want to focus on those that stood among the rest and the stories that impacted me the most. We begin our deep dive into 2021 supremacy by leaving the voice acting in the Sakuga behind. As anyone with a full Berserk Omnibus set of Shrine to Takehiko and Noe and no friends will tell you, the manga is always better, and this section is dedicated to my fellow practitioners of the black and white arts. Don't let the normies and the haters fool you, your taste is truly refined. However, categorizing manga by year is tricky. We all have our own version of the 3-episode rule, and depending on who you ask, you should wait anywhere between 1 volume and 16 volumes before you're allowed to drop their series. Therefore, series in this section are more so newish manga I personally discovered this year, or otherwise I think are truly coming into their own. So let's start off the celebration of this year with something positive. Everyone you know and love, slowly dying before your eyes. Frieren Beyond Journey's End by Kanehito Yamada and Tsukasa Abe started in April of last year, but recently had its first English print release. It tells the story of the titular Frieren, an elf girl whose race, in typical fantasy fashion, is near immortal, and therefore is forced to experience the worst possible torture for anyone who's ever played an MMORPG in their lives. All of your companions and party members leaving the game and you behind. And by leaving the game, I mean kicking up Daisy. Look, this manga is really depressing. Frieren focuses less on a grand isekai world romp and more on the life one leaves after the Demon King has been defeated. Focusing on an immortal character whose glory is already long past puts the reader into a perspective not often explored in fiction. She's not just a soulless observer, callously overseeing the lives of the lowly meatbags, but a woman with deep regrets for what she couldn't say before. We don't often know what we're missing before it's gone, and this manga instills a wonderful message about the value of discovering who our loved ones truly were. Tsukasa Abe's art is simplistic, with thin lines that nearly bleed into the background, evoking the feeling of a present seemingly fading into the past. Now, to be clear, this manga is not a humorless melancholy, the kind of manga that demands you dress up in a 3-piece black suit and slick your hair back and stand in silence like a Marvel hero at the end of Endgame. Instead, it's a story of one elf's journey to learn and move on, and understand the life that her companions would have wanted her to live. She has to realize that her friends wouldn't want her near immortal years lived in regret, like my dad probably wouldn't want me making anime videos for a living. As bleak and somber as the initial tone may seem, Frieren at Journey's End is more of an affirmation of life, a reminder that the day is always darkest before the dawn. By Yokunobu Tatsu is the type of manga that is so bizarre, so inexplicable, that I need not stress my little head about writing in a dozen jokes just to keep you interested and make that retention graph flatter than a One Piece character on Opposite Day. Okay, that one was actually pretty good. Everything I'm about to say is 100% non-embellished and the legitimate plot of this manga. Ayase is a girl from a spirit medium family who doesn't believe in UFOs. Takakura-ken is a boy obsessed with UFOs but doesn't believe in spirits. Takakura-ken meets a granny ghost who demands to suck his dick and ends up possessing him. He bursts through the phone to save Ayase on the verge of being impregnated by alien robots who want to steal her bananas until she awakens psychic powers and beats the shit out of them. No, I didn't make up a word of that. The best way to describe Dawn to Dawn is an unholy mix of Jujutsu Kaisen, JoJo, and Chainsaw Man, which ought to make sense considering Yokunobu Tatsu already likely had his soul destroyed working as an assistant to Tatsuki Fujimoto. Each arc features a battle of ability and wit between eldritch abominations expressed through some of the greatest monster art you've ever seen in your life, demanding our hero's genitalia. Like in Chainsaw Man, the fight against the type of horrors that would make Junji Ito cower in fear are heart-pounding and exciting, but more aptly force Ayase and Takakura-ken to better understand each other's strengths and flaws, and learn how to better communicate with each other, so that whatever the fuck this is doesn't reduce them both to a pile of dust in their quest for their ding-dongs. As of this month, Dawn to Dawn has sold upwards of 1 million copies with only 3 volumes available, and its come in success is as obvious as the sky is blue period by Sugasa Yamaguchi is probably the weirdest inclusion on this list, with its publication dating back to nearly 4 years at this point. And I'm sure many of you will be shaking your finger in disappointment at this being a 2021 video, but the first English volume dropped at the end of last year, and I picked up the series alongside volume 2, which dropped in January. And boy howdy has Blue Period lived free as can be in my head since then. Blue Period stars Yatora, a young man unable to define who he is in life, playing the model student for his mom and playing the carefree delinquent for his friends, not feeling any personal passion for anything. Wait a minute. That is until he's captivated by a painting and attempts to make one for himself, experiencing genuine happiness for the first time when his work is finally praised. Oh. He throws himself headfirst into the art, swearing to make it his livelihood, but is also forced to come face to face with the numbing reality of turning your hobby into a responsibility. Yeah, this manga is about me. Blue Period has touched me in an indescribable way that simultaneously makes taking my eyes off it impossible, but also makes it torturous to read. Frankly, criticizing this manga with a level head is near impossible, as I can't help but see myself directly in the protagonist. Yamaguchi is a master at expressing 1,000 emotions in just one panel, and while I know the anime aired this year, I feel as if it doesn't even come close to the visual representations of characters' inner struggles present in the manga. Each new volume I read, I genuinely find it harder and harder not to call it my favorite manga of all time, held back only by my knowledge of that eternal beast known as recency bias. But regardless, it's by far the most impactful piece of art I've read this year, and I'm more than happy to give it this place in the video games. It's not something I really talk about much on this channel, but Japanese role-playing games are absolutely an integral part of the medium of anime in terms of inspiration as manga or novels. Hell, very often the 15 isekai milked out of whatever creature it comes from typically aims to establish some sort of JRPG world building and often to disastrous results. But for me, the genre was just as responsible for my transformation into a grown-ass man obsessed with the cartoons of a single island in East Asia as the cartoons themselves. Perhaps I owe it to Kingdom Hearts, that truly bizarre polymerization of Final Fantasy and Disney, for dulling my sensation to the crazy and absurd that prevented my headstrong dive into the world of anime. My uphill battle to begin the journey of a content creator certainly stole much of my free time and prevented me from indulging in the fine cuisine of a 100-hour grindfest culminating in the slaying of this or that god. So this section is dedicated to those games that satiated that need and weaved the best. Tales of Arise from Bandai Namco is the newest entry in a series that in all honesty had fallen out of favor for me. Tales of Symphonia was without a doubt a staple of my childhood. Hell, I distinctly remember bringing an entire GameCube setup with a mini monitor and all, no, I'm completely serious, to a pizza party my class had earned from a successful fundraiser just to play it. Yeah, I wasn't really popular at the time. Since then, Tales of Berseria was the only entry in the series I'd managed to complete, and even that left me merely with the feeling, yeah, that was pretty good. 2021's Tales of Arise, however, feels less like a next entry and more like a reimagination of the franchise. Arise takes place in a world fallen victim to alien invasion by a force known as the Rena, enslaving nearly every inhabitant of the land. You are one of those slaves, Alfin, living under the rule of Lord Balsef, with no memory of your past or even face. Combat is certainly reminiscent of previous entries as you listen to your merry band of multicolored angsty anime friends yell the same attack over and over and over and over and over. But what sets Arise apart is a subtle nudge in a skill-oriented direction, inserting elements of Devil May Cry or Bayonetta into the previously standard action JRPG fare. Bandai Namco clearly understands what the filthy weebs want, upping the energy of both music and visuals, giving the feeling of less of a decades-old game franchise and more of a ridiculously high-octane, carefully executed Sakuga scene controlled by the player. Of course, the Tales of series has always been known for its tight writing, infamously making 40-hour experiences feel as if they go by in minutes. Arise in particular touches directly on the horrors of war and struggles of colonized indigenous peoples attempting to go one step smarter. It really did reinvigorate my interest in a series I thought I'd fallen off of forever. Bandai Namco, you have my attention. Shin Megami Tensei 5, also known as Persona Without the Heart, and frankly, that's kind of a moniker that it without a doubt wears with pride. This is brutal. And maybe in a world of Dark Souls and Twitch platformers, that adjective is as meaningless as the main character's gender. But SMT5 is a different kind of brutal. It's the type of brutality that forces you to watch as your carefully executed plan is picked apart one by a few lucky rolls of the RNG dice, giving you little to do but observe as your party is sent straight to Yahweh. Oh, I'm sorry, I meant As with pretty much every other game in the franchise, you're an unassuming Japanese high school student. And then the world fucking ends. Well, sort of. While investigating rumors of demon appearances, you awaken in what seems to be an alternative dimension Tokyo, and to survive have to fuse with a being known as Aogami into the non-binario, Nahabino, and recruit cute little Pokemon ranging from Little Snowman to actually Beelzebub to solve this crisis. Longtime series artist Kazumi Kaneko's art is given new life on the Switch, oozing style that was previously lost when the mainline games moved to mobile, which is important as Shin Megami Tensei is a series about atmosphere more so than deep introspective character writing. Its strengths are about weaponizing its monstrous difficulty to really give you that personal experience of slowly moving toward your death in the wasteland of Tokyo. While many JRPGs, as great as they are, treat the audience as a casual observer solving random encounters when need be, SMT is a fundamentally different beast. The player is a victim, clawing their way to salvation through battles stacked against them. It's this sort of David and Goliath gameplay loop that makes me love this series. And not really being the type of deep and pretentious radical storytelling I'm typically into, Shin Megami Tensei 5 is my favorite JRPG of the year, and is a must-play even if the series has never been your cup of tea. The anime has come roaring back this year after what seemed like a drought of creativity. Perhaps a year of being trapped at home has burst open the floodgates of imagination, or perhaps the working standards of animators have gotten even worse. But just to satiate my consciousness, I'd like to assume that it was the former and celebrate the absolutely mind-blowing achievements of the medium this past year. Half of all anime has been created since 2010, so it's certainly no wonder studios are hitting more than Tengen. But this may have been the first year in many that not only was Anime of the Year a difficult pick, but even choosing my top 3 was a challenge. And that's not even touching on the fact that I didn't even have the chance to watch every masterpiece hyped to hell and back. But I'm confident that I've chosen 3 favorites this year that in their own right are each a Star Wars Visions is probably one of the most ambitious ideas to emerge from the medium in the past couple years, and without a doubt is my hottest take on this list. That's not to say that the internet despised it or even disliked it, as primed as they are to be the first super cool guy to call popular things trash, but the consensus really seemed to be, yeah, it's pretty good. I disagree. Star Wars Visions is an anthology series taking place in the, well, what universe do you think? Each episode features a different studio with a different set of directors and animators, allowing each creator to imbue their special style. You're given entries ranging from JoJo opening maestro Kamikaze Doga crafting a black and white Kurosawa samurai flick, to the legendary Science Saru's depressing, unique, and far more cerebral entry in Akakiri, to the one and only Hiroyuki Imaishi, creator of Gurren Lagann and founder of Studio Trigger, doing exactly what you would expect the creator of Gurren Lagann and founder of Studio Trigger to do. What strikes me the hardest is the sheer novelty of what's created when artists are given free range of expression, not bound to disastrous production schedule and endless source material. Surprising even myself, my favorite of the bunch was The Village Bride from Made in Abyss Studio Cinema Citrus, a simple tale of a village living under Thumb saved by a fallen Jedi. The ending sequence elicited so many emotions that I rarely feel for stories in a galaxy far, far away. But what was captivating to me was the true infusion of the franchise's cinematic roots with tight and meaningful cinematography, mixed with the inherent freedom of an animated medium. Oh yeah, and sick-ass Jedi powers definitely help. Sometimes I feel as if 12-episode anime are 11 episodes too long, and I feel as if Star Wars Visions proved there's more room in this medium for shorts and anthologies. Far more importantly, not trapping animators in a box and letting them explore their talents, instead of just whatever flavor of the month isekai the medium can throw at. You might be absolutely blown away to hear this, but I was impressed by this isekai. I've made my distaste for the genre known in basically every video I've ever done, but can you really blame me in the face of a trope that literally owes its existence to maximizing clickbait on web novel hosting sites? But you know what else many other isekai owe their existence to? Mushoku Tensei, Jobless Reincarnation. Telling the story of Rudius, the titular jobless NEET, as he makes history by having the very first date with Truck-kun, thrusting him into a fantasy adventure isekai is so often known for. Thrust is a strong word though, as we actually start the series following Rudy's growth from the literal womb, a seemingly insignificant detail, but a crucial piece in solving perhaps the genre's most egregious sin, the fact that I hate all of these people. In contrast to others, we live and grow with Rudy, experiencing each triumph, failure, and cringy creep shot. The anime takes the time it needs to tie us close to the protagonist before opening us up. Mushoku Tensei is not a story about Rudy, but rather a journey with Rudy, dragging us along through the boundless imaginative imagination of the world that Magnote has created. Many isekai use JRPG concepts, because I guess they don't know I can just go play them, but this anime actually feels like that kind of close-knit, episodic, character-driven adventure that makes me willing to dump 200 hours of my life without relying on that level of surface-level pandering. Except for this. Oh, and this. And yeah, some of this too. Okay, yeah, Rudy has some issues, and I can perfectly understand if this anime isn't for you. Mushoku Tensei feels like a full realization of isekai as a concept. The possibility of discovering a brand new world and correct the mistakes of the past. Oh, and it definitely helps that the animation is sexy as fuck. Oh, baby. I came into the first episode expecting another disappointment for me to clown on using the same tired jokes I make 10 times a season, but I came away with an anime on top of this year's ranking of Kings from Wit Studio was basically on nobody's radar like 2 months ago. Of course, that'll change when a fairly large anituber featured the anime. Yeah, it was totally me, right? And that should be without surprise, ranking of Kings as one of the most expertly crafted opening episodes in recent years. Boji is a prince living in the realm of Boss, next in line for the throne, but is discounted by everyone around him, including his own family, due to his inability to hear or speak. He embarks on a quest to prove himself and make them eat shit, but a conspiracy surrounding Boss begins to unravel. Much like the script for this section, because despite literally this being my pick for anime of the year, I really can't pinpoint one specific aspect of this anime that has resulted in my continual loss of friends from my inability to shut the fuck up about it. The character designs are so simple yet unique, thrusting you into a storybook-like world that makes you forget that it was made by almost the exact same animation team that brought you this. Oh, right, the animation. It's also glorious, as Wit Productions tend to be, but this time the team seems eager to just flex on the entire industry to the point where I'm surprised its Sakuga wiki page doesn't get taken down because it's basically the entire anime. That's all appreciated, but this skilled storytelling is frankly sufficient to stand on its own. Never once while watching did I catch myself scrolling through terrible anime takes on TikTok, because I was too interested in watching this little garden gnome get on his hashtag Sigma grind set. Everyone loves a good underdog story, but Ranking of Kings had me wanting to get into the ring with basically anyone who disrespected my boy. Hold me back, hold me back! It's simultaneously a breath of fresh air and a mastery of the basics that remind me of why I love anime in the first place, and because of that, it is my TV anime of the year. After year, I learned something new about myself. If the manga was better, shirts are the demarcation of the truly seasoned otaku, my conceited vice is my continued insistence that anime is best enjoyed on the big screen in 2 hours in front of a bunch of pretentious douchebags from NYU. In all seriousness, while truly extraordinary stories are told in 12-episode formats, there's a kind of elegance that only the cinema can attend, and allows for the great medium of anime to express emotions ranging from total depression to wanting to punch God in the goddamn face. This year, I experienced 3 anime films that left a lasting impression on me and used the medium to its full potential to say with picture and sound what just can't be said in words. Bubble Up Like Soda Pop really just started as a mere afternoon of scrolling through Netflix and quickly turned into my latest iteration of, alright, I'm watching this with my girlfriend, I'm not gonna cry, damn it. The film stars Cherry, a young haiku enthusiast who finds difficult communicating outside his poems, until he runs into the TikTokstagram star Smile, who wears a mask, not because it's 2021 and we're caught in a seemingly endless plague, but because she sports a set of buck teeth since childhood. Together they discover more about each other and find a connection to the past that opens them up for change in the present. Soda Pop gives you the feeling of being trapped in a summer dream, the colors being flat and muted shades of pastel, and the characters themselves feeling as if they bleed into the background. Most of the film really isn't about much of anything. There's a loose plot about our duo finding a lost record of an old member of the community, but is really a film about 2 characters who, unlike so many other films, don't have to deal with cancer, ableism, and a descent into a complete madness as we experience a total loss in reality. Their problems are kinda small. Cherry just doesn't like talking to people, and Smile doesn't like how her teeth looks. And that's fine. Many of us just deal with relatively small issues, and Words Bubble Up Like Soda Pop reminds us that that's valid. Together they accept those parts of them that makes them different and see the shame they hold to themselves and each other. I often say that the most powerful anime films make you cry because of the impact of sudden tragic events on characters you've otherwise come to connect deeply with, but Soda Pop made me break down like a baby at the end just because I like it when people are happy. Sometimes I don't need something deep and introspective like 2 characters reflecting on a desolate landscape like in the end of Evangelion 3+1 Thrice Upon a Time. needs a better title, but also served as the ending to not just a world-shattering franchise spanning multiple decades, but also the journey of a man's struggle to understand exactly the series he created meant to him. While at this point I normally explain what the film is about, the sheer volume of lore and setup crafted in the previous Eva Rebuilt films would go well beyond the nearly 350 words I've allocated for this section. Also, I really don't understand most. Eva 4, fuck you, that's what I'm calling it, spends nearly half of its initial runtime not thrusting our moody teens into world-ending fights with giant nightmares angels, but playing Neon Genesis Stardew Valley. It's slow, thoughtful, and conveys Eva 4's primary message from its creator Hideki Anno to the audience. Stop watching anime and grow the fuck up. There was nearly a decade-long gap between this and the previous Evangelion film, partially reattributable to the emergence of Anno's ongoing fight with depression, but there's a pretty clear message of closure with the way that Eva 4 builds a vision of adulthood that doesn't forget the media we grew up with. The film absolutely has that high-octane, seizure-inducing giant robot goodness that Studio Kara's rebuilds are known for, but personally, I really just enjoyed watching Shinji and the Orange Tang gang just vibe in a village. No angels, no third impact. They just learn more about each other and what everyone's really looking for. For something meant to be a final culmination of a surrealist circus that defined a generation, there's a sense of acceptance in both how the characters act and the subtext of the film. You can really feel that Anno is okay with what he's created. Shinji doesn't blow the world away or blow something else. He just smiles, confronts reality, and makes peace with it. This ending may not have been what I wanted from Eva 4, but I think it's really the ending I needed. I still feel as a work of art the original series stands untouchable, but I can really appreciate what Rebuild sought to do. Not give us everything we asked for, but instead give us an avenue to finally walk away. Goodbye, all of Evangelion, wherever you may lie. Momota Hosoda, director of Summer Wars, Wolf Children, Boy and the Beast, and more, is my favorite anime director working today. His films are incredibly diverse, ranging from imaginative adventures into the values of family to the best Digimon and One Piece movies. Nope, seriously, check them out even if you don't care about either of those franchises. But they always circle back to statements on the value of our relationships to each other and overall a celebration of life that makes them so fulfilling to experience. His newest work, Belle, tells the story of the country bumpkin Suzu, who finds herself a new voice as she becomes an overnight online pop star sensation in the VR universe known as You. As she juggles the pressures of reality and being the world's biggest VTuber, she encounters a user known as the Beast, hunted by Yu's hometown Reddit mods. Suzu has to learn— okay, I'm done droning out about the plot. This film is absolutely beautiful. The animation is as stunning as any Hosoda work, but the real magic is in the cinematography and design. Multiple Japanese and Western talents, including Disney veteran Jin King, were brought in to create what I can only describe as one of the most stunning animated works I've ever experienced in a theater. The sheer grandiosity of many of the shots suck you into the world of You, only to shake you in your seat with its ear-piercing sound design. But then in classic Hosoda fashion, slows down to sometimes static shots in Suzu's hometown in a train station in the middle of nowhere, giving way to moments that are just as beautiful. Belle is a story of loss, abandonment, and the ways in which we escape into our other selves to find someone we can really connect to. This isn't Hosoda's best film overall. The storytelling is quite awkward and clumsy at times, but in terms of presentation and the utilization of the medium of anime, I don't think there's anything else that matches it. There's a single slow sequence near the end of the film that is so unbelievably captivating that I probably would have teared up even without Suzu's heart-wrenching singing. Belle is an experience that I won't soon forget. It's an experiment into just what can be put on the screen using this great art form, and is my favorite anime of 2021 was a year that changed anime forever, but probably more so, okay, probably less so, changed my life. While I started making TikTok videos in 2020, I made the call last year to try and make the move to YouTube and quickly rocketed to 20,000 subs. When I was at Anime NYC in the front row to watch Belle, something happened that really put this all into perspective. A special guest actor at the convention actually came up to me and told me that my video on Frieren Beyond Journey's End convinced them to not only read it, but completely reinvigorated their passion for manga. Moments like that are completely surreal because beyond all the numbers, you often can't tell how people actually feel when they watch. But moments like those make it all worth it. If you want to help support me, I have a Patreon linked in the description of this video. I have a big project coming up at 50 patrons, so look forward to that. I also have a Discord in the description that I'm active in. I would love to talk with you all there. Regardless, thank you so much for this year, and thank you for watching. Peace.